Okay, there we are. Hey, everybody. All right, welcome to week 4. This is actually our final week of the book club. So I hope that you guys have been reading the book, Breast, the Owner's Manual. If you have not, that's okay. That's why we do these weekly classes, so that I can kind of recap some important information for you. But also, again, this was a book that I recommend you just have on hand. Just keep it, buy it and keep it, because there's so much, as I show you every week, all of my post-its inside this book. So there's so much that you can refer back to. So again, not a problem if you didn't get a chance to keep up with the book club, but that's okay. So this is our final week. One thing I just want to stress, though, breast cancer awareness and breast cancer prevention should not only happen in the month of October. This is something that we ladies should be thinking about 12 months out of the year, 365 days out of the year. It's not something that we should only put our focus on in October. So please keep that in mind. So these things that we've been reading about in the book and the things that we've been talking about in the cooking classes each week, these are things that you should start incorporating into your daily routine. Try to start making small changes. That's the best way to do any of this. All right, so we really focused on the first 3 sections of the book. There's so much more to the book. We just don't have enough time to cover it all. So I do recommend that if you were following along for these 4 weeks, make sure that you are reading the rest of the book. Don't just stop here. Continue to read the book and read what she has to say as far as making treatment choices and optimizing your outcomes. That's really important. So again, the book is for everybody, whether you have a history of breast cancer or you don't. It's definitely a book every woman should have. All right, so let's talk about some excerpts from the book. Let me just put this over here for a second. That really popped out at me this week that I just kind of wanted to talk to you guys about. So you should have received your email again this morning, and you have a copy of this. It will include your recipe. Again, as I've mentioned in the previous classes, just make sure if you're not getting your emails, reach out to me and let me know, because first of all, it might be going to your spam folder. It might be going to some other junk type folder. So check there first. And then if you still can't find it, reach out to me and I'll make sure that you get copies of all 4 weeks. All right, so let's talk about some things that she talked about this week in some of the chapters that I was reading through. So the first one being, we're gonna talk about weight, which is really, really important, especially as women as we're aging. Our weight is a very good predictor of whether or not we're going to develop certain types of chronic disease, including certain types of cancers. So Dr. Funk is quoted as saying, being overweight or obese is the single most preventable contribution to the causation of breast cancer worldwide, with 25% of all cases being due to the deadly combination of obesity and a sedentary lifestyle. In the United States, up to 50% of postmenopausal breast cancer deaths can be attributed to obesity. So again, I'm going to read that again. Up to 50% in the United States of postmenopausal breast cancer deaths can be attributed to obesity. Again, this is Dr. Funk, and you can read more about that on page 113, and she cites all of her work, so you can see what studies she's referencing. If you guys are hopping on, hey, let me know that you are there. Let's see who's on here. Just give me a thumbs up or a hello. Okay, number 2. She is quoted as saying, there is good news, okay? So if you are overweight and you lose that fat, you will lose your risk, and it doesn't take years to take effect. Seriously, it is that simple. Weight loss through either caloric restriction or gastric bypass surgery leads to a reduction in circulating estrogens. And as hoped, this leads to less cancer. A recent study showed an incredible 85% reduction in breast cancer after gastric bypass surgery. Another study followed 33,660 women over 15 years, and 1,987 got cancer. The highest rates were in women who steadily gained weight. Their chances of getting breast cancer dropped 64% for premenopausal weight loss, 52% for postmenopausal weight loss, and 34% for weight maintenance. It pays to be a loser, and the younger the better. And that's on page 116. You can find information on that. And then the third thing, my highlighter moment, was if your idea of exercise is twisting the cap off of a peanut butter jar, you've got some room to improve. A study compared 17,000 postmenopausal women who briskly walked for 1.5 to 2.5 hours per week to those who didn't. The walkers reduced their breast cancer risk by 18%. life-saving benefits from just 11 minutes per day. This goes along with everything we talk about, that it doesn't take these dramatic, huge improvements. Like everybody has 11 minutes a day to dedicate to exercise. I don't care how busy that you are. What would happen if you put some pep in your step, carried a 5-pound weight, or bumped it up to 30 minutes? Women who exercise for 3 to 4 hours per week at moderate to vigorous levels, means you're breaking a sweat and it's really hard to carry on a conversation. So that means because your heart rate's getting up. They have a 30 to 40% less breast cancer than sedentary women. If you do more than 4 hours, a 58% decrease, and that's on page 118. So it doesn't take a whole lot of work, 11 minutes per day. You can start there. Again, everybody has time in their day for 11 minutes of exercise. And that exercise, it's best if it can be something like she mentions that, you have to get your heart rate up. This is why, and any of you that have gone through my challenge, my 14-day healthy hormone challenge, know that walking is actually one of the tasks that you do, one of the daily tasks that I have you do. There's so many incredible benefits to walking. I do recommend that everybody work at their own level, at their own speed. But no matter where you are, it should be difficult for you to have a conversation. So if I'm walking with you, if we're standing next to each other and we're walking together, it should be hard. We should be walking fast enough that it's kind of hard for both of us to be having that conversation, to be talking. And again, those of you that have done my challenge know that's actually one of the things I mention in there. So a nice walk anytime is good. But if we really want to talk about reducing our risk for different types of cancers and chronic diseases, we need to be pushing ourselves a little bit more and making it hard for us to have a conversation. So get those heart rates up, ladies. So now that you know about the importance of exercise and how it reduces our risk of breast cancer, I want to know, how are you going to add it to your weekly schedule? I hear this all the time, and I've been doing this for years. I hear women say to me all the time, I don't have time to exercise. And I honestly, if you're one of my clients, you know that I will not let you get away with that excuse. You do have time in your schedule to exercise. You just have to make that time. You have to make it a priority. And so many times we take care of everybody else around us. And that's part of the problem of why we get to this point in middle age and we're having so many health issues, because we've spent so many years putting our spouses, our kids, our parents, our friends, our churches, we put so many other things before ourselves. And so it's really time, ladies, at this point in your life to start reclaiming your health. And the only way to do that is to be making the time for eating right and exercising. So I challenge you to look at your calendar, write it down on your calendar. You have to schedule that time, and then you have to hold that time sacred. So if you have on your calendar that you're going to walk and you've got it down for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoon, nothing should come in the way of that. And that might mean you might have to tell people no, but you have to hold that time sacred. You have to protect that time. That is your time to do your exercise. I also get the question a lot, what's the best kind of exercise? And my answer to that is whatever exercise you enjoy doing. Because if you do not enjoy doing it, then you're not going to do it long term. You're not going to stick with it. But I do encourage you to be open-minded. Like, don't right away go, well, I hate running, if you've never even tried running before, or I hate tennis, or I hate swimming. If you've never done those things before, be open-minded to try different things. But definitely choose something that you know that you're going to do long-term, something that you enjoy doing. I also recommend that you have some sort of an accountability group for yourself, like a friend that you're doing this with. It doesn't even have to be somebody who lives close by to you. So just a funny story, of course, this whole year has been crazy, but it has really not allowed us to be in person with a lot of people. So what I started doing with our challenge ladies that do our monthly challenge, I started encouraging them to walk virtually with another friend, so that this way you're keeping each other accountable. And so sometimes I will do that. I will walk virtually with a friend. So if I know I've got a phone call scheduled with a friend, I'll say, you know what, I'm gonna make that my walking time too. So it's good because you have that accountability and you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, right? So if you have that phone call you have to make and you need to be catching up, you can also be doing that while you're walking or doing some sort of exercise. So there are definitely ways to do it, but definitely look at your calendars and see where during your week you can schedule these things in. It needs to get done. It's an absolute must as we age. Ladies, it's really nutrition is super important, but we need to be adding in that exercise, really important. Okay. The other thing that I included in there for your bonus content. So again, there's so much we've talked about. Whoops, something's on my computer. Sorry, guys. Let me get that off of there. We've talked about adding so much into our diet, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're adding some more. So it's really how are we going to add those plant foods into our diet? We haven't really spent a whole lot of time talking about the things that need to be taken out of our diet. And the reason for that is just time constraints. We only have 4 weeks together. So I really didn't have, the class wasn't designed to really go in too deep into the health risks of eating meat, eating any kind of animal products, including dairy, including fish, including chicken. So what I wanted to do was I gave you guys a podcast. I linked it in the email. So if you have a chance, listen to that podcast. It's very interesting. And then I've also provided for you the pages, the part of the book where Dr. Funk really talks about the science between animal products and the connection between those animal products and breast cancer specifically. So definitely make sure you make the time on your own to be reading about that. What I say, it's chapter 4, so it's pages 73 through 109. And again, it's kind of where she talks about the dangers of animal products. Now, when we talk about animal products, because I get this all the time, somebody will say, well, I don't eat a whole lot of red meat. Okay, well, that's fine, but that is such an old school way of thinking when it comes to nutrition, that like fish is healthy for us, chicken's healthy for us, eggs are healthy for us. Those absolutely aren't. And she goes into great detail about it, as does the podcast that I provided for you. So I definitely recommend that you listen to it. But when we talk about animal products, we're talking about all of those things lumped together, not just red meat. We're talking about the red meat, the chicken, the fish, eggs, dairy. When we say dairy, we mean things like butter, cheese, yogurt, ice cream, milk, things like that, okay? So those are what's considered dairy, because I also get that question a lot too. There is significant risk to our health when we are eating those foods on a regular basis. I kind of go back to when we talked about the alcohol. Don't shoot the messenger with this one, but the science is clear on this. It is clear. Not only, and we're just kind of focusing on breast health right now, but there's so many studies out there for other types of cancer, prostate cancer, heart disease, dementia. I mean, there's tons of research out there. The more animal products that we consume, the higher our risk of developing those diseases. So I really encourage you all to make sure that you take a look at that, at those chapters where she talks about removing and really providing you with the science behind why that's really important, especially as women as we're aging. I just gave you a really quick tip and I go over a lot of this in my Thrive 45 5-week course. But one of the things is, as women, as we're aging, if we're in that, those menopause years, whether you're perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, we're in those menopause years. And so if you're already having a problem with balancing your hormones, so you're having issues like, mood swings, hot flashes, weight gain, especially around the belly area. These are all things that we talk about in the course. But if you're already having those hormonal issues, I want you to really think about this. This is just a very good, very eye-opening for a lot of people when they hear this. If you're consuming animal products, you're eating those sex hormones from those animals. Now, some people will say to me, well, I buy my meat where it's, the hormones aren't added. Okay, well, that's good, but guess what? It's an animal. They naturally have sex hormones. They're mammals. They have sex hormones. So even if you buy the ones that don't have the added hormones, you're still eating animal hormones. And so that really is not the best thing to be eating, to be putting into our body when we ourselves might be dealing with some sort of hormonal issues. So just some food for thought there on that one. Okay, so make sure that you do that. And then if you are interested, of course, I do offer that 5-week Thrive 45 course where we really do a deep dive into whole food plant-based nutrition for women as we are aging. And there's a whole lot more to the program. I have a 6-step roadmap to better health in midlife. So I highly encourage you, if you've really enjoyed the book club and you want more information, I've given you a link there in your email. Okay. So let's get started with our recipe. So we are making the Almond Joy smoothie. So I'm a big fan of smoothies. Let's see, if anybody's watching, let me know you're on there. Hey, Anne, good to see you. I have to check on my phone here. So good to see you. Thanks for hopping on. So if you, let's go back here. I have popped out of here. You guys know, if you've done any of my programs before, I'm a big fan of smoothies. Smoothies are a great way to get a lot of nutrients in. They are fast, they're easy. You can make them up ahead of time, meaning, and I teach you this in the course, how to make smoothie bags. So they're a quick meal, they're nutrient dense, meaning you get a lot of bang for your buck, and they're also portable. So, so often we're in a rush in the mornings, especially if we're heading out the door and we're, going wherever we're going in the mornings. Smoothies are great because you can make your smoothie, You can put it into some sort of a container to travel, and you can take it to go. So I'm really a big fan of smoothies. So if you're not already making smoothies, I highly recommend it. So this smoothie we're going to make today is super healthy for you, and it actually tastes like a dessert, which is really cool because it's healthy for you. So it helps, like if you have a sweet tooth, this would be great for you. Okay, the reason for that is one of the main ingredient in this smoothie is cacao. Raw cacao powder. So it is actually number 10 on her breast superfoods. It's actually the last food we haven't talked about yet in this series, in these cooking classes, is raw cacao powder. So let me just talk to you real fast about that. So she has it listed as number 10 because now remember, all of these superfoods are there because of the phytonutrients or the phytochemicals in them. So because of the flavonoids, cacao powder can be added to berry smoothies to satisfy a sweet tooth. Consuming 40 grams of more than 70% cacao solid dark chocolate gets an anti-cancer thumbs up, as it delivers antioxidants more than it does cocoa fat and sugar. So raw cacao powder is not cocoa powder. That's really important, okay? Because a lot of times we're buying stuff in the grocery store that's cocoa powder. So let me just show you really fast because it's spelled actually differently. So it's C-A-C-A-O is the actual, let me get this out of here. It's powdery, so I had to put it. So here's a brand that I buy, okay? You can get these at any grocery store, pretty much any grocery store nowadays. If not, you can easily find it on Amazon. It's really easy to get. I don't even think I've ever really seen one that's not organic, but of course, as you guys know, I always recommend organic, so buy organic. So the difference between cacao powder, and you see the spelling is a little different than cocoa powder. Cocoa powder is processed. So it's processed, there's different ways of processing it, but one of the main ways is they heat it to very high temperatures. When the beans are heated to really high temperatures, it really strips it of a lot of its nutrients and a lot of the health benefits. It kind of like, the health benefits are not there anymore. Plus, when you're buying cocoa powder, not only is it processed, but oftentimes it's as an ingredient in something else that includes sugar and fat or milk or something like that, like think of candy bars and stuff like that, okay? So again, cacao powder is the most natural, it's just the ground up cocoa beans. That's what it is. So cocoa powder is different. So check your pantry, make sure you have the right kind. And again, this is really easy to get. Raw cacao powder is a superfood actually, and it's got so many health benefits. High in magnesium, it's amazing for your skin. It's got huge anti-aging properties because of all the flavonoids. So there's lots and lots of really great health benefits to raw cacao powder. So you can add it to your smoothies. In fact, I just wanted to pull up, for those of you that are in our monthly membership and you have the app, where you can pull up all of our recipes. Okay, now I'm getting raw cacao powder all over my phone. I'm just bringing up the recipe app. So we've got tons of recipes in here, ladies, that have cacao powder. So if you go, well, Kelly, I don't want to buy this huge bag. If you're in our monthly membership, you have access to the recipe library. So let me just tell you, some of the recipes that have it are chocolate espresso muffins, chocolate quinoa cookies, almond joy smoothie, which is what we're making today, brain buzz smoothie, that's a really good smoothie, brownie batter overnight oats, chocolate avocado pudding, chocolate decadence, chai almond smoothie, another good smoothie. Let's see, chocolate espresso ice cream, chocolate nice cream, chocolate peanut butter overnight oats, chocolate raspberry overnight oats, chocolate sweet potato brownies, chocolate sweet potato smoothie, decadent chocolate oatmeal. Oh my gosh, the list goes on. Mud pie espresso overnight oats, peanut butter chocolate mousse. And our snowball chocolatini cocktail. So there's a whole lot more, ladies, but just to give you an idea, like there are definitely recipes in the library that you could use the raw cacao powder for. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so we have the raw cacao powder, we have a banana, we have almond butter. So let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about bananas. So I'm sure many of you know bananas are high in potassium. They're super healthy for you. These are such a great snack. Sometimes we often overlook the most simple, basic things that we can pack as snacks and we can eat. This right here is perfect. It comes with its own protection, right? It's peel. So you can toss it in your purse, you can toss it in your car. When my kids were younger, we were never without bananas. So one of the, here's a tip for you. when my bananas start to get really dark on the outside, actually they're the sweetest right then. So if you do any baking, you probably already know this. They're really great to bake with. But what we do before they get ready to get tossed in the trash, if I know that I'm not gonna have time to make a recipe to bake or anything like that, I will take my overripe bananas, I will peel them, kind of cut them in half and stick them in a freezer bag, a big Ziploc bag, and stick them in my freezer. This way, when we are getting ready to make smoothies and there's banana in them, we just grab it from the freezer and we add that to the blender. And we're gonna talk about this blender in a minute because it will definitely blend it up. So that's a trick. In fact, the recipe calls for a frozen banana, but I went in my freezer this morning and it looks like my husband has used all the frozen bananas for his smoothies this past week. So the banana we're gonna use is not frozen. All right, the next ingredient we're going to use is almond butter. So almond butter is super healthy for you ladies. It's loaded with protein. So of course, that's a big question I get when people hear about a whole food plant-based diet. Well, how do you get your protein? Again, we cover this in great detail in my Thrive 45 nutrition course, but almonds are a great way to, nuts, any kind of nuts or seeds are a great way to get protein in your diet. You don't have to worry, you will never be protein deficient if you do a whole food plant-based diet the right way. So one thing just a tip I wanna give you on purchasing your almond butter. So be really careful when you buy your almond butter. In fact, I encourage all of you to check your pantry, check your almond butter, and flip over the package and read the ingredient label and see what is in your almond butter. You should not be buying almond butter that's got added oils, added salt, sugar. There's sometimes ingredients you can't even pronounce. And really, your almond butter or your peanut butter, whatever kind of butter that you buy, should be the straight up nut, and that's all. So these are great. A lot of grocery stores have them now. These come from the machine where you can actually just grind up your own almond butter or peanut butter right there at the machine, and that is the only ingredient. This is literally just ground up almonds. That's all it is. That's the only kind of almond butter that we buy. Now, you will see, like when you open it, sometimes it separates a little the oil. That's okay, because the chemicals that they put into the others to make them look prettier on the shelf, those are ingredients your body's not going to know what to do with. So I don't recommend you buy those. Just buy straight up, ground up almonds or peanut butter. Smells so good. All right. The next thing on the list is hemp seeds. So hemp seeds, this is, again, superfoods is a word that I use very lightly, but hemp seeds would be definitely considered a superfood. For those of you that have gone through my courses, any of my programs, and you've done my healthy hormone smoothie, you know that hemp seeds and chia seeds are one of the ingredients. And the reason why is they're loaded with omega-3 fatty acids. Our bodies, ladies, especially as we age, need omega-3 fatty acids. The standard American diet is high in omega-6s. Now, our body needs both, but there's a particular ratio that our body needs. And when we eat the standard American diet, we're tipping over into the omega-6s way more than we are the omega-3s. So in order to get the omega-3s, we need to be eating things like chia seeds and hemp seeds. So these are a great thing to add to your pantry. You can do so much with these. You can sprinkle them on oatmeal. You can add them to any smoothie. They taste great actually sprinkled on a salad. Lots of different ways to enjoy hemp seeds. You can store the bag in your freezer if you're not going to use all of them at one time. I store a lot of my nuts and my seeds in my freezer. So, okay, so this is going to have tons of omega-3 fatty acids, this recipe. Hello to everybody who's hopping on. Let me know if you guys are on there. All right, honey. I always recommend buying raw local honey, and you can do that. Most of your grocery stores will carry that now. Years ago, that wasn't the case. Years ago, it was really hard to get raw local honey, but you can, that's a really easy thing to get now. Now, if you are somebody who's like a hardcore pure vegan and you don't want to use honey, you can use a little bit of maple syrup. To be honest with you, I probably won't use any of it because I find the banana gives it a lot of sweetness. So I'm fine with that. But if you're just starting out eating this way, your taste buds are going to be used to having things more sweet. And so you might need a little more sweetness. And so then I would keep to the recipe as it is with honey, or you could swap that out for maple syrup. But I promise you, your taste buds are gonna change when you start eating healthier. Things become so much sweeter. Regular like fruit and apple, it just becomes so much sweeter to you. So you're gonna find yourself not needing all of those extra sugars and stuff. And then ice, and coconut milk. So coconut milk, if you watched my last video, made quite a mess in my kitchen that I had to clean up. But I always use the full fat version. don't shy away from fat when it comes from a whole food source, whole food plant source. And I always buy the kind that does not have any guar gum, fillers, anything like that. It's just straight up coconuts and water. That's the only ingredients on the ingredient list. Okay, so who's it? Hey, Kelly, where do you get your raw honey? Okay, let me see who's asking that question. The program I use doesn't show me who it is, so let's see who this is. Oh, hey, Cindy, highly recommend. Oh, thanks, Cindy. Cindy says she highly recommends the course. Thank you very much, Cindy. Connie says, hey, Kelly, where do you get your raw honey? I actually get mine at Whole Foods. Connie lives in kind of like a neighboring town, so that's why Whole Foods, Elwood Thompson, let's see, those are probably the two places I get it. If you go to any farmers markets, I always love to support farmers, and I sadly just have not been able to get to a farmers market here recently. But if you have the opportunity to do that, I always recommend that, because you get to actually know the beekeepers and the farmers, and I just love doing that. So if you can get yourself to a farmers market, that's the actual best place to actually get your local honey. All right, so let's get started now that I have raw cacao powder all over my notes. All right. Let's see here. Now, we are going to make this in the Vitamix. So this Vitamix, oh my gosh, this Vitamix is probably, I don't even know at this point, 15 years old maybe. So a Vitamix is not cheap. I remember when I was going to buy one, when I recommended to my husband that we were going to invest in one, and he was like, are you crazy spending that much money? I think we paid like maybe $400 for this 15 years ago. And he thought I was insane. He said, $400 for a blender? And I said, no, you don't understand. Like, you know, all the healthy people use it, and I promise I'm going to use it, and it'll be a good investment. Well, 15 years later, we still have the same one. But I will tell you, if something were to happen to this tomorrow, he would be the first person out at the store to replace it. That is how much we use our Vitamix. It is hands down, the most used appliance in my kitchen. We use it for so many other things other than smoothies. So if there is any way you can swing getting a Vitamix, I highly recommend it. Maybe even, you know, for like a birthday or a holiday of some sort. I would love to get a Vitamix as a gift. But it really is a game changer in the kitchen when you're trying to eat healthy. There are so many different things you can do. Again, not just smoothies. I do remember when we first got it, I think that first month, my entire family, I like liquefied everything. Like all they ate was like smoothies for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I was just so excited until I learned that I could use my Vitamix for so many other things. I know that nowadays there are other blenders on the market. The Ninja is one of them. I can't think of any of the others off the top of my head. I have yet to find anything that compares to a Vitamix. Now, of course, you do what you can, what your budget allows. Anything is better than maybe like a $20 blender at like Walmart is really not going to blend up your foods and get that smoothie consistency. But if you can swing it, I definitely recommend, even if there's some way you could swing past the Ninja and just go right into a Vitamix, you will not regret it. I don't think I've ever met anybody who bought a Vitamix and regretted it. So highly recommend it. Okay. And no, I do not sell them. I know I sound like I should, but I do not sell them. So mine is kind of like an antique. It's very, very basic, doesn't have a whole lot of things on it. But this is, again, a game changer in the kitchen when we're cooking and trying to eat healthier. Definitely recommend it. Okay, so let me do the banana first. And again, I am not using frozen banana because I didn't have any. That's okay, we'll just add a little bit extra ice. All right, so we got that. We're gonna do the raw cacao powder, just getting all over my kitchen. This smells so good, ladies. If any of you try this recipe or one of the other recipes that use raw cacao powder, let me know. So, and I've said this before in the other classes, I am not particular with my measuring. So as you can see, this is not an official tablespoon. I just put a heaping tablespoon of it in there. I'm just not particular with my recipes. But of course, if you feel more comfortable, if you're new in the kitchen and new to all this, just follow the recipes as I have them laid out for you. All right, 2 tablespoons of almond butter. Again, I'm not just kind of eyeballing it. All right, and then a teaspoon of hemp seeds. I forgot to get my teaspoon out, so I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it. And actually, I'm gonna do a little bit more. Hemp seeds are just so healthy for you, so We actually used these for dinner last night, sprinkled them on our salad last night. Some honey. I'm going to pass on the honey. The recipe calls for a teaspoon of honey, but again, as I mentioned earlier, the banana adds enough sweetness for me, so but feel free to add the honey or swap that out for maple syrup. Half a cup of coconut milk, full fat. I am going to, this is where we goofed last time. This coconut milk is quite messy. Hold on. So coconut milk, depending on the temperature, like in the summertime, it will be all liquid. Now that it's getting colder out by me here, it will solidify a little bit, so it makes it a little tricky trying to get it out of the can. All right. That's good, just like that. And we got the hemp seeds. Okay, a little bit of ice. All right. Now, the Vitamix does get loud, so bear with me, ladies. All right, and that is it. Put this in the sink. Oh, it smells so good. All right. Another thing that you could add to this would be frozen cauliflower. So frozen cauliflower will not change the flavor. So I actually, if I had it, I don't have frozen cauliflower with me, but I would actually add maybe a half a cup to a cup of frozen cauliflower, and there you go. You're getting more plant foods in your diet, especially if you're trying to feed children or spouses sometimes, and you're trying to convince them of eating more vegetables. Sometimes you can hide it. So frozen cauliflower is great to do that with. And again, if I had thought of it ahead of time, I would have bought frozen cauliflower and I would have added it. You could actually use the frozen cauliflower in place of the ice cubes. All right. This did not make a whole lot, but it's actually, it's very sweet. Oh, that is so good. That tastes like chocolate ice cream. It's so good. And again, you could, and this is sweet enough, you know, like I said, I didn't add the honey, but if you want to add the honey, it'll make it sweeter. That'd be perfect. And again, I would add frozen cauliflower to this just to get more plants in my diet. So, which is so good. You guys let me know if you end up trying it. And that's it. That is so super easy. Now, if you wanted to, you could probably even put this in the freezer for a little while and it would probably freeze up and be like an ice cream. You could eat it with a spoon. So it kind of reminds me of a Wendy's Frosty. I don't even know if they still have those, but that's actually what this reminds me of, a Wendy's Frosty. So it's a healthier version. So good. And it's very filling too. So, all right. So ladies, let me know if you end up trying that. So this is it. This is, like I said, this was our final week for the book club. So I hope that during these last 4 weeks, you ladies have learned a whole lot about what we can do to reduce our risk of developing breast cancer. We are not sitting ducks. There are lots of things that we have control of. So I hope that you have been inspired to start making some changes in your life. And again, we've talked about even just making those small changes. It doesn't have to be these big giant changes. So, you know, start doing a little bit of exercise, start adding in more plants into your diet. Make these recipes that you've gotten over the last 4 weeks. Start making them. If you're in our monthly membership, get into the recipe library. Start making, there's almost 300, there's over 300 recipes in there. They're all whole food, plant-based. Get in there, start making those recipes. Commit to maybe 1 day a week doing whole food plant-based just for that 1 day. Just start doing that and you're gonna actually start to see improvement in your health just by making those small changes. It doesn't take a whole lot. So ladies, please reach out to me if you have any questions at all. If you are interested at all in the 5-week course that is coming up, that's opening pretty soon. So reach out to me and let me know if you're interested in that. We do a deep dive into nutrition for women as we're aging. And yes, it does revolve around whole food, plant-based diet. So I have really enjoyed these last 4 weeks with you, and I hope everybody has a great day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.